And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update. I'm your host for today's program, Paul Demain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. Jurors began deliberations yesterday in the case of a New Jersey park ranger charged with reckless manslaughter. In closing arguments last week, prosecution and defense lawyers offered sharply different versions of the deadly 2006 shooting. It happened after rangers had arrested a Rampapo Lenape Indian Nation tribal member for illegal weapons possession and later stopped several others for riding all-terrain vehicles. Defense attorney Robert Galantucci told jurors that Ranger Chad Walder was on the verge of being disarmed by Emil Mann when he shot Mann in self-defense. Mann died 9 days later. Prosecutor James Santulli, however, said Mann was standing about 5 feet away from Walder with his hands up when Walder fired. Navajo voters will have a chance to decide whether to reduce the size of the tribal council and give the president line item veto ability, a hearing officer ruled on June 25th. Less than a handful of ballot initiatives have been attempted in the vast reservation. The latest, led by Navajo President Joe Shirley Jr., will be the first to go before voters. Hearing officer Carol Perry overturned tribal election officials' November determination that not enough valid signatures were gathered for the initiatives to go forward. She said the attempt to cut the number of tribal lawmakers from 88 to 24 had indeed garnered enough signatures, but the other had not. But she said tribal elections officials using conflicting and ambiguous statutory provisions to disqualify petition signatures. Perry ordered an election held within 6 months. Cherokee Nation officials in Oklahoma are asking for people with artifacts related to the Cherokee Nation to return them for use in a museum. Travis Owens of the Cherokee Nation Cultural Tourism Office in Tahlequah said the tribe is targeting Oklahoma's border states where there are high concentrations of Cherokee citizens. The Cherokee Nation is looking for items that have significance to the Cherokee Nation Supreme Court building and would have been used from about 1844 to 1907. Those items could be court cases, personal artifacts of justices, photographs, or day-to-day items indigenous to the Cherokee people. The artifacts will be used to showcase the soon-to-be-reopened Cherokee National Supreme Court Building Museum in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. The Coushatta tribe of Louisiana's commitment to help keep health care costs down took a bold step toward improving a vital benefit for its tribal members and casino associates. Groundbreaking on a permanent Coushatta Family Medical Center and Pharmacy. The new building will replace the current temporary structure and will be staffed with 2 full-time physicians, a pharmacist, and a registered nurse, plus medical support and administrative staff. In addition to Dr. Tammy Mitchell, the current on-staff physician, Dr. Hernando Guzman, a family practice physician, will join the team in July. Adam Fortunate Eagle of Fallon, Nevada, the architect of the American Indian takeover of Alcatraz Island in 1969, will mark his 80th year during July, but that doesn't mean he's slowing down. A film crew has been following the American Indian activists around to make a documentary called Contrary Warrior, a movie about his life and times that the producers hope to sell to the public broadcasting system. His latest book, Pipestone, A Boy's Life in an Indian Boarding School, has been accepted for publication by the University of Oklahoma Press. Yeah, things are really happening, said Fortunate Eagle, a member of the Chippewa tribe who was born Adam Nordwall on the Red Lake Ojibwe Reservation in northern Minnesota. Even though I'm an old codger, I've got a lot left to do, he said. Black Mesa Trust is encouraged by the decision of Southern California Edison and the other owners of the Mojave Generation Station in Laughlin, Nevada, to decommission the station and remove the facility from the site. Not only has the Mojave Generation Station the dirtiest coal-based power plant in the country, it stood for more than 40 years as a symbol of the wanton destruction of Hopi and Navajo children's heritage and birthright, said Black Mesa Trust Executive Director Vernon Masayesva. We hope that dismantling the power station will mean that the coal slurry pipeline between the Black Mesa and the plant and Peabody's wells on the N Aquifer will also be dismantled. Only then can we ensure that the N Aquifer, the sole source of potable groundwater on the Hopi Reservation, can be used for the survival of native peoples on Black Mesa and for the religious and cultural observances that the Creator intended, Masayesva said. Members of the Watso family will be joined by Abenaki friends and relatives for a very special event at the Adirondack Museum at Blue Mountain Lake, New York on Saturday, July 11, 2009. The museum is open from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. that day, and admission is charged. Like many Abenaki families, the Watso family has deep roots in the Adirondacks and the Champion Valley. Their ancestors include Sable Benedict, an Abenaki man familiar to early settlers and explorers of the region, and Louis Watso, the patriarch of the Lake George's historical Abenaki community. Descendants of these two men lived and continue to live throughout the region, some as full-time residents and others moving back and forth between villages like Lake George and Saratoga Springs, cities like Albany and the Odanak Reserve on the banks of the St. Francis River in Quebec. Abenaki Day will feature a number of demonstrations of traditional Abenaki arts starting at 10 a.m. that day until 4 p.m., with several local Abenaki artisans also displaying their work throughout the day. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank our underwriters for helping us with this broadcast and you for joining with us again right here. Miigwech.